And here we go, game one between Team Liquid and Dignitas, and up at the top of the map representing Dignitas is a very talented Zerg player. It is, you know, I was going to say the one and only, but it is one of the people named KilleR. Down at the bottom left part of the map. In the blue is another Zerg. We're starting out with ZVZ today from TeamLiquid.net. It is one of their Code S level players. It is Zenio.
Absolutely. So Liquid with a very stacked roster, and Dignitas certainly very strong as well. In fact, they have a player right now who is one of our champions in Fight Club because of, if you guys saw last Saturday, we had an interim match where Dignitas Show took on ATN Zaka, and Show was actually able to come back from a 4-0 deficit to take the set 5-4.
Yeah, no kidding. That was a crazy comeback. But he has to play against Pult this weekend. That's going to be pretty rough, man. I mean, that is a tall order. It is going to be a TVT, too, so that should be pretty fun. Yeah. Mirror matchups all around. Look at that. Gas from KilleR there. Looks like he's going to go for possibly Speedling Expanded is pretty popular on this map, but you never know. Could just be, excuse me, wow. Baneling all in as well. I like inhaled some dust there or something. I don't know. It's not exactly very dusty in here, but of course the one piece in the room finds my esophagus.
That is, wow. That was awfully, that like got very specific at the end. So it wasn't like mouth, it wasn't it found me, it was my esophagus.
Well, you know, I don't like to, I'm a communicator, right? I like to be clear.
That's true.
I like to make sure people know what I'm talking about.
That's for the best. I appreciate that in you. So.
You're welcome. So it was hatched first for Zenio. That's right. Followed by the pool, of course. And so if anyone's going to be getting a Baneling nest, it's certainly going to be him. It's pretty tough to go for hatch first and not have those Banelings to defend early on, unless you're like Nest T from like a year and a half ago and you just can somehow magically do it with roaches. But even that is a bit of a risk, because if you do go right for roaches, there's this big window of time where if your opponent does something like, for instance, what KilleR is doing, you can just die to Speedling. So probably going to see Zenio put that down that Baneling nest fairly soon.
Oh, I'm going to kill myself because I don't remember who's the other player in this. Who was the other player, or who was the big ZVZ finals?
Lucira.
Thank you. It was. That's right. I wanted to say that, but then I was worried that I was going to sound stupid. But I just remember in that one, Nesty just ended up messing around for a good period of time after he ended up going up. I think it was 3-0, and in the last game he was just like, I'm just going to make whatever I want. Oh, wait, I still win.
Now, Lucira was actually the first pro gamer I ever had my picture taken with.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Huh.
That's right. He was there one of the first days that I commentated Code A when I went to the GSL, and I'm like, oh, man. I'm here doing this, but I'm such a fanboy, too. I have to get my picture taken with Lucira. So I did.
I still do that as well. White Raw? Yeah, definitely did that. I made you take a picture of something that had my name on it that he was holding and send it to me. So
that's right, yep.
Still have that, by the way, that piece of paper. Yes, I do.
Sweet. Took me like a year to get it to you, but finally worked out.
Well, KilleR now trying to bounce in here, but Zenio already has a Spy Crawler coming up and a few links himself, so he should be able to remain pretty safe against the beginning of this. And, of course, those 5-range Queens, much more adept at holding off the Zerglings. I mean, that zones out an area basically all the way through here, so the Zerglings would have to run all the way up and around.
It's quite huge, definitely. So Zenio is going for that Baneling nest to kind of stay safe. KilleR, of course, going for his hatchery behind all this, just kind of doing a Speedling expand. He can really kind of keep Zenio on the defensive for now because he has speed and Zenio doesn't, right?
Right.
So that's going to let him, maybe even if he's lucky, get a couple lings in the base to do some scouting too. So KilleR is in a pretty good spot early on. The one thing that he is going to need to catch up a little bit is, of course, the drone count, but even that is not going to be a big difference. Yeah, as you can see, it's still 21-26, so KilleR's not really in a bad way at all as far as that goes.
No, not really, and looks like he won't even, is he going to lose a Zergling? I do think the Spine Crawler has the range to hit at least one of those on the way out, and it looks like Zenio is going to force the issue there, so a couple links. Oh,
whoa, he gets the Baneling, nice score there, that's worth it.
Yeah, pretty good, so.
Not bad.
All right, well, a couple of Queens sitting overhead now for Zenio as well. We're going to go ahead and take a look and see how he wants to follow this up. 3 more defensive Banelings being produced for the time being. Speedy Overlords flying across the map at will.
They are quite fast, aren't they? I mean, I think they can outrun Queens now, too. I think if they can get away in time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yep. Check it out. Oh, she's attacking the supply depot. Never mind. So that Overlord is definitely getting away. And he's on the same side anyway, so.
Hey, we don't know. These Queens are liable to switch at any given point in time.
It's fine. I was distracted by the somewhat late Baneling nest that KilleR is getting. He's going to maybe, I guess, try to put some pressure on with this.
Yeah, he's got 16 lings coming up now, but of course his opponent has the exact same amount coming out. So We're going to go ahead and take a look at things. Looks like second gas now hitting for Zenio, so we may be looking to move up in tech here in just a bit.
Yeah.
And indeed, there's the Roach Warren coming right down. So.
Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. I mean, Zenio just getting a couple Banelings early on just for defense and then going into Roaches here. Killer for now. Ooh, he has to be careful about those Banelings. But, you know, he does have the ability to still kind of hold this off fairly easily. I think he's morphing in a few Banelings at home, and he should be just fine against this.
Yeah.
Unless he makes some sort of colossal error. But, you know, that's kind of what a lot of ZVZ comes down to, right? One Zerg player makes a big mistake, and then that's the end of the game.
It does seem to happen that way quite a bit.
Fight.
So, or not even mistakes, just one player controls impeccably sometimes. And
well, that's very true too. And it doesn't even need to be a big mistake on top of all that. It can actually be a very small mistake, and that makes a difference too. I love that Zenio is continuing to make drones behind this too. I mean, he's in such a great position right now.
Yeah. And let's see now as this Baneling was tearing after a couple of Zerglings there. Oh, and Zenio's really got to watch out. That's a huge amount of Zerglings that are coming down his way. He does have a few Roaches that are just about to pop up, though.
I turned on mouse scroll, by the way.
I saw that, yes. I'm not used to it.
So, that's a lot of Banelings coming in and not enough Roaches for Zenio, but does KilleR have enough?
Oh,
that is big.
Very well done, taking out a lot of drones there. And gets a lot of Zerglings and drones on top of that as well. But Zenio has been macroing like a beast behind this. Has he been counterattacking? No, he is just killing that attack force, as he still does have 34 workers to his opponent's 40, but he has 10 Roaches to his opponent's, well, nothing as far as army goes.
He's also going to have 1-1 for these Roaches, too. So they're going to be able to take on quite a few Zerglings and also quite a few Roaches initially, if KilleR decides to just save up and make a bunch of Roaches, which looks like it is his plan to do so. Now, here's the thing. I mean, Zenio may not quite be in that overwhelming majority category yet as far as, you know, how well his Roach attack can do. You can see he's not being very aggressive with it. So many times you see Zerg players decide to just move out right away after winning a little sort of defensive engagement, I guess you could say. And then they end up losing all their army because their opponent is able to reinforce so quickly at their base. So Zenio right now playing this very intelligently, playing a very slow-paced ZVZ style. I really like it, actually. It's cool to watch. I'm not going to say it's very different, but you don't see a lot of Zergs approach the matchup in this way very often.
Yeah. And it was a good thing that KilleR was able to do damage with his little Baneling run by as well. He absolutely needed that. Zenio would have been kind of in a crushing position had that been allowed to kind of just go by. So good job there. Zenio just sitting there with that Overlord overhead. Unfortunately, probably will lose that. Roach is making the way out for both players. Actually, this is just a train of Zerglings now that's going to try and deny this third. They may very well get it. So Zenio is going to be down a base.
Yep, he's going to have to cancel that right away. He knows. And so KilleR doing what he should. Oh, wow. I was about to say doing what he should do, but he should do that. Oh, that's nice, though.
Wow.
Gets in for a scout.
He does, but I got to say, he lost a lot of Zerglings to get that done. Now, killing the base was certainly worth it, but he did lose a lot more Zerglings than he would have liked.
Here's the thing. I don't even think he scouted very well. Did he even see the infestation pit that Zenio put down?
Let's take a look at his vision.
Those Zerglings? I don't believe he saw it. Where is it?
Is it over at the natural, I think?
It's at the natural.
Okay, yeah,
he did see it. All right. I was wondering if it was maybe in the main. I didn't quite see where Zenio put that down.
Yeah.
But all right, so KilleR does know about the infestation pit. He's getting one of his own as well, and he knows he needs some extra defense, so he's getting a couple extra spine crawlers to kind of help him hold off Zenio while he increases his own Roach numbers and gets his own upgrades. But will it be enough? Those spines aren't done yet.
And KilleR taking quite a bit of damage here, but now finally all the spines finish up, and with 3 spines in addition to that short reinforcement distance, Zenio, despite the better upgrades, is going to have to move back.
Yep, we're going to move into a late game ZVZ, it looks like. And so the question is, how long is Zenio and our Zenio and KilleR going to stick on Infestors? Are they just going to go straight up Roach Infestor for the rest of the game? Or are maybe we going to see a little bit of different tech here? Maybe even something like Hive later on.
And it looks like Zenio wanting to take a couple of shots at these Roaches from KilleR as he moves away, as, you know, that upgrade advantage is very significant now and actually going to continue to increase, as he will have +2 missile attacks finishing up very, very soon. Burrow just finished up for Zenio as well, which is going to prove to be a big benefit in engagements, especially if there's no Overseers overhead. In fact, there are none morphed in right now for KilleR.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like, I mean, KilleR's not playing badly at all, but Zenio just seems to have everything a little bit tighter right now, you know? His upgrades are a little bit crisper. The timings are a little bit better for everything. And, oh, that's an interesting way to save your Overlord, turn it into an Overseer.
Yeah, there you go. It's actually going to get pretty close. This is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't
14,
know if I like this.
15, 16, and saves it just at the last second.
Oh, man, that's kind of nice.
And puts down a Changeling on top of that just to be extra annoying. And look at that. Changeling actually going to make its way through and see pretty much everything, including the Infestor count. So that ended up being really good for KilleR.
Yeah, he wants to scout, too, to see if there's any sign of, like, Hive or anything like that, too. So he does get all the information he wants. Supply count for both of these guys, very similar, too. What's the drone count? I would imagine that's probably pretty similar, too. Yeah, 70 to 66, about the same. It's going to really come down to a lot of control for both of these players.
Yeah, very much so. I still think that Zenio, with the upgrade advantage, though, has a little bit better position moving into an eventual big engagement.
Sure
and he's going to add in some DPS in there as well with some Hydralisks, it looks like.
Yep. Now, sometimes this can work, and sometimes this can't. Sometimes this doesn't work quite as well.
Sometimes it backfires, yeah.
It really does, you know, because there's a point in time where your Hydralisks are out. You don't have that many of them. They don't have range. Your opponent has just a lot more roaches, and they have, you know, generally a decent amount of infestors too. So this is a little bit of a risk being taken by Zenio, but if he can kind of buy time enough to get enough Hydras out to really make it worth it, he should be fine. It looks like KilleR's going to give him that time.
It does indeed, and in fact, he's getting rid of a few of his workers. Will eventually want that supply, but also wants this defensive position of a bunch of spine crawlers going up pretty much everywhere. So
yeah,
it's going to be pretty well defended. You know, KilleR's been playing this pretty well, especially overcoming that early economic disadvantage due to the nature of the builds. Him going for a little bit quicker or a little bit more aggressive off of one base with the Zergling speed. So certainly ended up working out pretty well for him afterwards. But now losing a few overlords overhead.
Yep, a little bit of a misrally there, I think, unless he maybe was just deciding to scout in kind of a odd way with those. But it looks like Zenio's getting ready to maybe go through and start to press the attack. I mean, he will be on 5 bases. He is maxed out. As long as he keeps his injects out, he should be very, very good at reinforcing right now.
Right. And unfortunately, KilleR is going to need a few more overlords. Okay, there we go. They're just popping up at the same time, and he does have enough larvae to max himself pretty quickly as well, and about the resources to do that. But it looks like he waited for that Hydralisk then to finish up, as he may be heading down that path as well.
Yep. Interesting strategy in that these guys are kind of both doing very similar things. Ooh, but a Hive right away from KilleR. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to see maybe a little bit later game tech, although he could just use it for upgrades as well, and if he kind of plays passive enough, that upgrade advantage could come in handy a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
Looks like, Overseer actually getting fungal. Does take a while for fungals to kill an Overseer, though. It's going to require one more. All right, there we go. It does finally go down.
Yep.
But at the same time, Zenio's going to make his way down to the bottom right-hand corner. What is KilleR going to do? He's going to all-out counterattack, moving across the map, going to go for his opponent's fourth, trading a base for a base. Now, Zenio was able to initiate a little bit faster and does have the better upgrades at the moment, but KilleR needs to get something done very quickly.
Yeah, this is a brave move by KilleR rather than defend. You know, his units really weren't that far out of position, but he knew he was going to lose the base either way. Look at that, splitting up his army. He's just going to go after all the tech of Zenio. This could end up being a very interesting base trade situation. Zenio with a large army, but potentially no way to kind of reinforce it with the same type of units, depending on what KilleR focuses down, of course.
That's right, and Zenio has continued to do damage himself, so we're moving into base trade mode now. This is very interesting. Game number 1 to start things off. One hatchery finally does fall. KilleR's able to knock that out. Looks like he's going to get potentially layer tech here in a second as well. Matt Ping shows some spine crawlers.
Mr. Ping is back. Oh, great. Hooray. Oh, yeah, a lot of tech dying in the main.
Yeah.
Zenio taking on a few bases here, but still not really doing a lot except for hurting the economy, which, you know, isn't bad. It looks like, yeah, Zenio trying to rebuild some of his tech, but that may die again.
Yeah, so both players are going to be down to just a couple of bases here. He's got to start focusing some stuff down with those infested Terrans. There's the Roach Warren. There goes the Hydralisk Den. Can he get the hatchery as well? He could if he wanted to focus it, but unfortunately now all the infested Terrans are going to die.
Looks like he'll still get it with those other 4.
There we go.
So, yeah, a lot of bases being taken out, and now we have the armies crashing into each other. Well, that was way too dramatic, but it still is fun. Lots of Hydras out for Zenio, though. That is going to help him win this fight handily, I think.
Yeah, the Hydras and the fact that he got the better engage initially, hit the fungal growth much faster than his opponent, so KilleR all of a sudden losing a lot of his forces. He is moving up to a 3rd base a little bit faster than Zenio is, but he's going to need to restart that production very quickly.
Yeah,
Worker count for these two players, 35 to 20, but look at that, 1,200, 400 banked for Zenio.
Yeah, that's going to help him out for a little while, while anyway, but he needs to kind of get the resources flowing again because those aren't going to last forever. You can spend that money really quick in late game ZVZ if you've got the larva.
He definitely needs layer again pretty soon, so yeah, I'm sure he'll move up to that in just a bit. KilleR's still sitting on pretty much all of his tech, but don't forget, he's really only mining off of about half of a base now until this next hatchery finishes, which it just did.
Yep, so we'll have to see how aggressive Zenio decides to be. It looks like this one will be a little bit more of a passive game from him, kind of like what we've seen already. You know, he's not really being hyper-aggressive with this. He's just like, all right, I'm just going to take these little advantages here and there, and I'm just going to kind of play safe, play a little bit solid. And now I think he realizes he probably does have enough to just break this.
All right, well, we'll see if he wants to go for it now. KilleR hasn't really produced any units in a while. He does have a very nice amount of spine crawlers in a pretty good defensive position. A few roaches heading around down towards the bottom right. Are there any units there to intercept? Oh, no, they actually have to make their way down, and Zenio says that now is the time to attack. He's going to move that direction. Already a few infested Terrans being put out as the spine crawlers root themselves, but Zenio's just going to try and push on through.
Yep, and I think he can certainly do that too. Fungal's kind of slowing down that army a little bit, but that's really all that KilleR has right now. He doesn't have a lot of units otherwise, and Zenio looks like he's just going to, excuse me, roll right through this.
Yeah, looks like he is. So 122 supply to 77 at the moment. KilleR going to lose this third base, that critical mining base once again. Yeah. Zenio has been able to securely get 2 bases of his own and has restarted his tech, already producing a fair number of roaches once again.
Yeah, well, I mean, KilleR's had to spend all his time defending right now, where Zenio, you know, has been able to do pretty much whatever he wants. And now he's 50 supply ahead. That's quite a bit in a mirror matchup. There's a little bit of an attack going on at one of his bases here. Maybe some lings running in there or something.
Yeah.
Looks like some roaches, but not going to do a whole lot to Zenio. He's got enough to kind of spare to defend at home as well. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Things looking pretty rough for Dignitas in game 1 here.
Yes, they are, and it looks like Zenio going to get himself off to a very good start. This game was back and forth for quite a while. Like I said, KilleR did a really good job of overcoming an initial deficit and picking off a few units there without suffering too many losses. But now the rest of Zenio's army engages. There's GG, and Liquid has taken game number 1.
Yeah, that was a pretty convincing victory, too, by Zenio. I mean,